What's good, YouTube? And welcome to the house. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different than a market watch. I wanted to, instead of looking at the metagame or current sets, go back through the past and look at cards that are boiling underneath the surface, almost ready to burst through, and that are also somewhat low in quantities versus their price on market because of that. Starting with Block Dragon. Seriously, one of my nemesises if you watch the live streams. Block Dragon is insane, the fifth jokingly dragon ruler, and I think that this card is disappearing from the market. When we look at the original version, there's only 22 prices, and its mega pack version has 47, but the price quickly spikes. We see that we have this available at 174 here on TCG Player, and then here it's actually towards $3 very quickly, and then into $4 as well. And when we look at eBay, it's $250 with a ton from one seller, and it's just almost instantly $4. Block Dragon is an insane card. I think Earth as a typing will just continue to gain traction, and I would want access to this card depending on what could come out in the future. So using that player brain, it tells me, hey, I would want access to these, and it's very cheap to do so right now. I wouldn't want to pay a lot to do it later. Harpy Featherstorm is another card that I've had my eye on for a while. This card is insane on its own within its typing, but if Harpy's Feather Duster comes off the list, I think it will hype it to another level. Even with a new printing in the Legendary Duelist 4, which was earlier this year, there's only 40 prices on market here, and the Duelist Saga version has 47 prices, which, remember, this is where it was introduced. So these are its only two printings. And if you don't know what this card does, it reads, if you control a Wind Wing Beast type monster, until the end of this turn, negate any monster effects your opponent activates. That's any of them. It doesn't have to be on the field. The grave, hand, everywhere. If you control a Harpy monster, you can activate this card from your hand. So Harpies have gotten some support. We got some hype from the back earlier in the year. We did see a little spike on this then. If this card in its owner's spell and trap zone is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can add Harpy's Feather Duster from your deck to the graveyard. Now, again, since you want to use this more so from your hand, or you want to use it in general to floodgate your opponent for a turn, this won't happen the most often, but it's still a clause that if Harpy Feather Duster came off of the FNL list for us, which it's also slated to be in the Shadow Structure deck from the OCG so far, it could be really big for this card in general. But the first two effects alone carry this card and are why I'm looking at it. And we see $1 on eBay as well, but only 52 results for all copies on eBay. So definitely consider that. And if you're buying any of these cards, please use my TCG Player link in the description down below, costing you nothing extra and supporting the channel directly. Next up is a card that actually is somewhat commonly in the metagame. I'm surprised it's this low of a price versus the quantities left on market. There's only 35 prices here for the super rare, which is out of a special edition all the way back from Cybernetic Horizons. So you have a chance to get this cheap, and it's on a lot of ending boards even in today's metagame. That's why I'm shocked at this price. And when we see the gold rare, which people typically don't like gold rares, but I do like how this looks as a gold rare, it's towards $5. That gap will eventually be filled, and you'll see Hope Harbinger start to drag up to $2 to $3. I always say this, Blue Eyes players look for rank 8s, and those tend to go up on the market when they have very few printings as well. Well, this only has its 2. And we do see over on eBay, there's only this copy from Canada before it is $250 over here. So, again, something to consider getting sooner than later. Fossil Dyna recently appeared in a Pro Play Games Tour feature match that was kind of an insane moment, and when we look through all of the copies, there's only 4 of them, and even the commons are almost off the market because it's from an Astral Pack. That is ancient. Super rares from a 10. Ancient. The newest version is from Duelist Saga, a set that has a higher MSRP than a usual product, and it's starting to go up as well. So this is just a card that's had its moments in history, and I think it's underrated right now. People are even trying to use Vanity's Ruler in certain decks so that they can just plop it out at the end for their normal summon, and it's bigger. Yeah, Infinite Impermanence is a card, but this is a lot less requirements than a Vanity's Ruler to get to the board. Time Thief Redoer, it's very, very new for OTS Pack 12, but people are listing it oh so cheap already. Do remember, Time Thieves have upcoming support. We don't know when we'll get it from the OCG, but they have upcoming support, and when that does head towards the market, this super rare boy is going to get a little bit of hype from people remembering how much they love him. And I still see people trying to play hold decks around this on Dueling Book. Sometimes I have a problem if I'm playing a bad deck, but most meta decks don't have a problem with it. I still think just the announcement of it coming over will have a mad rush for this, so consider getting yours sooner than later at a very, very reasonable price for the holo version. Of course, there's the common, and the common is pretty cheap, but not bulk. Like, people obviously aren't considering this just as something to throw away. They're asking for more than that 5 to 10 cents for it. And we see over here that the lowest is $2.50 right now, but again, it's new, so we'll see how it really settles out throughout the future. Garden Rose Maiden is something that's on my mind because Black Rose keeps getting new support, and we have a full plant archetype coming up. I would never underestimate Black Garden, which recently did see some niche metagame play with Crusadia, but I think for the artwork, the waifu tax, this is more so towards my taste than a Dragon Maid. I think this art is beautiful, but just looking at this card, it's several good effects that can mesh well in the future with the support that's coming out, and I think being in a legendary duelist, people will start to remember, oh yeah, maybe it's about time I go ahead and get that. And we see only 21 results for it over here on eBay. And I believe over here on TCG Player, it's pretty short as well. Yeah, 45 prices total. So I would still consider getting this as well sooner than later. Drago Necro Nethersoul is an amazing super poly target for zombies. Zombies have, we don't know anything about it, an upcoming type in a side set, and zombies are just so generically good that I think at some point again, this will become an option. A, for zombie players, so if that set does get a lot of hype, people might want to put this within their zombie deck, but B, also against, and we have the gold rare variant, and then the ultra rare from Battles of Legend Heroes Revenge, and again, 22 prices on market. Very, very low. 82 total of the gold, though. So the fact that the newer version is so short, but it's what really pushed it down on market, does tell me that it has the potential to go back up again, and it's always good to have access to your super poly targets. Pre-preparation of rites is very, very good generic ritual support. I think this is slept on as it only has its 3 quantities, and when we look at the Battles of Legend version here, well, there's only 47 total prices. That doesn't scream a lot to me, and I would be after the ultra rare personally. It's only basically $3 for a playset for these versions, or $6 for a playset of these versions, depending. We see you can get them as cheap as $1 each on TCG Player, but it does, for the Ultra, I believe, go up somewhat quickly, and we see for all variants, only 61 copies on all of eBay for each of them. So TCG Player, definitely the place to shop for a ton of these cheaper cards that have been on market for a while. But I could see this one going up. Speaking of rituals, I also think the super incantations are slept on very well. Incantation Child Slime hasn't had its opportunity for a reprint yet. I think it will happen down the line. But almost all the incantations used to sit at about dollars. And because the Megatons are so just vast and full of amazing cards, you see that the super rares are low in price because they're basically pack filler to people right now. This will be forgotten about over time. Quantities will run out, and you will see people pick these up later throughout time, and they will definitely be going up for the super rare versions, in my opinion. Is sold 2 Tales of Noble Knight for the super rares under $1. This card literally destroyed an entire metagame, and I get that you have to play bricks and equips, but we're about to get more warrior equip support in the form of a structure deck. I could definitely see the super rare coming back into more demand. There's only 37 total prices for her here, and while special editions tend to have a ton of quantities from sellers on market, as we see from our lowest dude here, it does only have 23 copies over on eBay as well. People aren't too apt to get rid of it fast, and you see how quickly it rises towards $2. The original ultra rare is what a lot of people tell me they prefer, and you see that lowest unlims are $350. I need about $350 for that meta breaker. Heat Wave was re-released in the Speed Duel decks, and I think there's a lot of misconceptions about Speed Duel cards. You can play Speed Duel cards anywhere, but in order to play in Speed Duels, it can only be Speed Duel cards. So yes, your Speed Duel Heatwave can play anywhere, you Phantasm Spiral players. And when we look at the original, it went down because of this, yet there's only 12 total prices for this on market as a single. That's screaming crazy to me that it's out of a structure deck and there's only 12. That also tells me there weren't too many of those structure decks printed, and it's something to consider having before it doubles to triples in price when it just gets a little rumbling of hype through some regional somewhere. And finally, my own personal favorite. Please, one day this will be good. I've been waiting 10 years. Wiseman Chalice. I think this is so underrated, but it's waiting for a tier 0 meta, and Konami's definitely invested in having diverse metagames. If you control no monsters, select a monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it. It can't be tributed or used for synchro material. During the end phase, give control of that special summoned monster to your opponent. Basically, you can attack with it and use its effects. But the graveyard keeps becoming a resource that can banish stuff or be quick effects like Orcust. It just hasn't had its time. This is what I believe will one day make it. Thank you guys so much for watching today's Market Watch. This is from Dynaread with only one printing. It's so sad. But thank you guys for watching today's Market Watch. What did you guys think of these suggestions? They're not towards the top of the meta. They're not crazy things, but they're running low on quantities. They're cards people are seeking out, and they are very, very high potential when you look at them from a player standpoint, from game design. So that's why I wanted to focus on them a lot. Let me know what you guys think of showing these off. And hey, maybe you're one of the players who already has all of these. You're the rogue tier hero. And you're like, yeah, it's about time they get some recognition. Or you're like, hey, stop blowing up my spot. I'm trying to win a regionals. Just let me know what you think. And we're 25 subscribers away from 50,000. Thank you guys so much. The channel has been moving really fast compared to before, and I appreciate it. It's all thanks to you guys.